Welcome back to the Cool Comic Show. Today we're going to try a new kind of video on this channel. I ordered a bunch of books over the holidays, 31 to be exact, and they all finally came in. So I have a few of them here on my desk, but most of them are on this little cart that I have next to me. I wanted to make a haul video, as the kids call it, just going through each one pretty quickly, what the book is, why it caught my interest, and maybe it'll catch your interest as well. If any of these books do seem cool to you, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video for it as part of our MyCoolBooks series, where we go through a book, kind of flip through the pages, talk about the content and that kind of stuff. A little bit more deep dive than this whole video will be. So just let me know if there is a book that catches your attention. But yeah, like I said, we have over 30 books to get through, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first up is Invisible Kingdom. Oh, I should mention as well that all my hardcovers, they're still in the wrapping. I am going to open them up, stretch the spine, all that stuff, but just wanted to make this video. But yes, Invisible Kingdom. This is by G. Willow Wilson and Christian Ward and Sal Cipriano? I apologize, Sal, if I pronounced that incorrectly. But anyways, this book caught my eye because of the art. You can see how big it is. But to give a little insight of what it is, Vess has just left her life behind to become a nun. That's N-O-N-E, not an N-U-N. That's a disciple of the most powerful and enigmatic religion in the universe. So a nun like a nun following a religion, but N-O-N-E. So that's Vess. Grix, which is the second character, lives to pilot the cargo ship the Sundog for Lux. Lux is the name of an omnipresent corporation that rules the entire galaxy. So two characters, Vess, who is a nun, N-O-N-E, and then Grix, who pilots a ship for a corporation that rules a galaxy. When both stumble upon a shocking discovery, what they thought was true will shatter, and they'll be forced to forge a path through the most dangerous edges of space for the truth, for love, and for themselves together. Like I said, the art for this one caught my eye when I saw it online, so I had to pick this up. Definitely check it out if you can. Next up, we have JSA Volume 3. This is by Jeff Johns, Alex Ross, Dale Eaglesham, Jerry Ordway, Paul Levitz, and Brad Meltzer. Oh, I should mention as well, Invisible Kingdom is like it's from Dark Horse, or it's actually from Burger Books as part of Dark Horse Comics. So this isn't a superhero book, it's just kind of its own thing. This one, obviously, JSA is a DC book. Like I mentioned, it's Omnibus Volume 3. I have Volume 1 and 2 back here. So this is just the last issue of that run. Give a little insight. The legendary Justice Society of America has gone through many changes since its inception in the dark days of World War II, but one thing will always be true: they are a family. I'm a big fan of the JSA. Those of you who watched Black Adam, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but a little bit of JSA was in there. They are a prelude to the Justice League. They were, you know, like I mentioned, they were part of World War II era, that kind of stuff. So just Volume 3, the last one I needed for that run. All right, next up we have Harleen. So yes, this is about Harley Quinn. I think most people will know of Harley by now. What this book is, this is kind of a definitive telling of like Harley's origin. Everyone knows, of course, that he was a psychiatrist. He got manipulated by the Joker, who definitely used her for his own gain. And then of course they broke up. I'm one of the people who feel like Harley's more like, as she leaves the Joker and does her own thing, that's when I start to like her more as a character. But this book is important because it tells, there's some very interesting conversations and things that happen in this book. It's pretty straightforward in terms of like what happened. Like I said, she's a psychiatrist at the start. She goes to Arkham, she meets Joker, but it shows a little bit behind the scenes of like how he was able to manipulate her, and then eventually in the end, spoilers, you know, he was using her for her own gain and stuff like that. So I've heard nothing but good things about this run, so I had to pick it up. I think it's only 3 issues in total, but it's a pretty big, wide-sized book. This is by, I'm gonna mess this up, Stjepan Sejic, S-T-J-E-P-A-N S-E-J-I-C. I've heard people pronounce his name correctly before, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So, Harleen. Okay, so we had 1 Dark Horse book, 2 DC books. Let's get ourselves a Marvel book. But funny enough, this one is kind of a play on DC. This is Heroes Reborn, America's Mightiest Heroes. Let me just read to you what it says here. On this earth, the Squadron Supreme of America stand in defense of the good old US of A. Hyperion, Blur, Dr. Spectrum, Power Princess, and Nighthawk face deadly enemies, including the Masters of Doom. Meanwhile, fate has chosen very different paths for Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, Logan, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and other familiar faces. Only one man remembers the world as it's supposed to be, but what can Blade possibly do to reassemble the Avengers? Basically, this is a world where the Avengers don't exist, or they currently at the moment, and the Squadron Supreme, they're essentially a metaphor for the Justice League, but you know, Marvel's version of stuff. This is by Jason Aaron, Ed McGuinness, Mark Morales, Matthew Wilson, and more. So it just seemed like a cool concept. I enjoy Marvel and DC, but I do have some DC leaning, but I still enjoy both. But I think anytime there's like a metaphor, the Justice League and anything, like even with Invincible, or of course the boys and that kind of stuff, that's always just very cool to me. So that'd be cool to check out. Heroes Reborn. You can see a little bit of ode to my favorite Wonder Woman right there. Okay, so now we're gonna start with the cart. I have a few more here on my desk, but they're mainly trade paperbacks. I'll get to those at the end. Here is American Gods. This is by Dark Horse Comics. I'm actually gonna open this up because it's in a slipcase, but I'll read it to you what it says on the back. So here's the other side of that slipcase. This was a TV show. I think it was on Showtime, if this name sounds familiar to you guys. Basically what it is, this is the Complete American Gods. The Complete American Gods comic series adapted by comics legend P. Craig Russell from the award-winning novel by Neil Gaiman in a deluxe oversized collection with slipcase and ribbon. So a little bit of synopsis. Shadow Moon is the name of the character. Fresh out of jail, finds his wife dead, his life in shambles and nowhere to turn, but a chance meeting with the mysterious Mr. Wednesday thrust him into the center of a conflict between new and old gods, where the future of human and divine life is at stake. So I never watched the show. I only saw like clips here and there, but like pretty much what it sounds. It's American Gods. It's like this new gods, old gods kind of thing. Like I think one of the new gods is like God of Media, that kind of stuff. But the reason I wanted to open this, like I said, this is in a slipcase. So this is what the actual book looks like. Again, it's a novel by Neil Gaiman and then adapted by P. Craig Russell. And here's a slipcase. I can't speak today. Here's all the cool art on it and stuff. So I'm excited to check this one out. Oh, and then also it has like cool gold end paper. I always like that in books. Okay, jumping back to DC. This one is Dark Knight's Metal Omnibus. This is by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, with a couple other creators as well. This was an event that happened in recent times with DC, so what I'm reading right now, I'm not going to read this for a while because I'm kind of reading DC events in order. But if any of you have heard of the Batman Who Laughs, a very popular character, he came from this event. Basically, a little bit of insight. The Dark Knights are coming, and with them, the true father of Batman. An evil force as old as time has emerged from the nightmare realm known as the Dark Multiverse. But it's not just any nightmares that have spilled out of this void. They call themselves the Dark Knights. Twisted versions of Batman, each from a world where one of his worst fears have come true. To defeat them, Batman and the Justice League must undergo an impossible quest to find the mysterious metals capable of repelling the Dark Knights and their master, the fearsome Barbados. If they fail, everything they've ever known will be plunged into eternal darkness. So this is one of those books, an event book where, you know, there's a lot going on before and after this kind of thing. It's not something you would jump into right away, like without knowing anything. You could probably get the gist of it if you just picked it up and read it, but an event book, a tie-in book kind of thing. Okay, next we have Captain Marvel. I love this cover. This is by Kelly Sue DeConnick. This is the run where Carol became Captain Marvel. On the back, it doesn't have much. It says, Carol Danvers takes on the mantle of Captain Marvel and is propelled to greatness by writer Kelly Sue DeConnick. Earth's mightiest hero heads to the stars, makes new friends and deadly enemies, and discovers the shocking truth about her cat, Chewie. This volume contains DeConnick's entire character-defining run, which won Captain Marvel legions of devoted fans, aka the Carol Corps. So I think this originally was coming out in the early 2010s, I want to say. I could be wrong. There are two covers of this book, but this was the one I wanted to get because it looks sick. So again, this is the run she became Captain Marvel. Check it out. Okay, these two books I'm going to talk about together, Nubia and the Amazons, and then Nubia, Queen of the Amazons. Nubia is a character that she originally debuted, I want to say in the 70s, late 70s. She made like a quick appearance, a couple of appearances, and then she was kind of in and out of comics for a while. In the last year or so, maybe year and a half, she's been getting a big push by DC. But Nubia and the Amazons is kind of exploring her coming back to comic book world and explores a little bit of her origins. She's kind of a stand-in queen, while the regular queen, who's Wonder Woman's mom, is with the Justice League, and Wonder Woman is doing a whole other crazy thing. So this book happens, then there's a trial of the Amazons, then the coronation of Nubia, and then she becomes actual queen, which is Nubia, Queen of the Amazons. So excited to check these out. There's a lot on the back, that's why I want to read the whole thing for you guys, but that's kind of what it is. She's a really cool character. Should definitely check her out. All right, next we got Superman the Man of Steel. So this one I actually got when I took a trip to the Bay Area for the first time a couple weeks ago. I visited a shop called Cape and Cow Comics, very cool shop in Oakland. This takes place right after Crisis on Infinite Earths, which becomes kind of a reset of the entire DC universe in the 80s. And with it being a starting point for Superman, you know, it says, Man of Steel must protect his beloved home from Bizarro and Metallo's catastrophic attacks, all while keeping his civilian identity a secret from the most powerful man in Metropolis, Lex Luthor. Like I said, it's a good starting point for Superman. I think there's like 4 or 5 of these volumes. I'm hoping that we will get an omnibus one day. This is by John Byrne, Marv Wolfman, Jerry Ordway, and Dick Giordano. So if you want a good jumping on point for Superman, this is a good place to start. But also another book that I got. This is Superman Birthright. So another kind of origin starting point for Superman, but this is a little bit later. I think this was like early 2000s. This one is by Mark Waid, Lionel Francis Yu. I believe I pronounced that maybe kind of correct. Jerry Allen Golan and Dave McCaig. The whole world knows that Superman fights for truth and justice, but why does he? What drives a farm boy from Kansas to divide his life between posing as a mild-mannered reporter and embarking on a career as a superhero? A little bit modern, more than Man of Steel was, so another fun time. Next up we have Icon and Rocket Season 1. This is from the Milestone Returns initiative. Milestone Comics was created in the 90s by a group of Black creators, and they wanted to focus on Black characters and uplifting those voices. Icon and Rocket were part of those characters that were created. Milestone was gone for a while and they came back in the last couple years, so this is part of that Milestone Returns. Icon and Rocket are very cool. To give you a little bit of insight, the most famous superhero duo of the Milestone universe returns, reimagined for a new generation. Long ago, the stranded alien known as Arnis gave up hope of returning to his home planet. That's Icon. Tragically, he'd also realized that his adopted home of Earth was beyond saving. Content with wasting away his long life in a human guise, Arnis was past caring, until the day a young woman named Raquel Irvin crashed into his life. Soon, she convinced him to put his incredible power to work again as a heroic Icon, and to transform her into his sidekick Rocket. But an innocent question on Rocket's part, why can't we do something about the drugs on my corner? Quickly set a chain of events in motion, leading to the pair becoming the most hunted beings on Earth, and they're not just being pursued by Earthlings either. Milestone is also where Static came from. Some of you may know him from the Static Shock TV show. I do have his hardcover as well. I got that last summer, I want to say. So some cool characters, definitely check them out. All right, next up we have Batwoman. This is by J.H. Williams III, W. Hayden Blackman, Greg Rucka, Trevor McCarthy, Amy Reeder. And it's just a collection of all of Batwoman's stories in the Rebirth era, so like the mid-2010s, I believe. After her promising military career is cut short by bigotry against her sexuality, Kate Kane decides to put her combat training to use as Gotham City's newest guardian, Batwoman. Determined to dispense her own brand of justice against those who would prey on Gotham citizens, Batwoman wastes no time in pursuing the Lewis Carroll-inspired criminal known as Alice. But Alice isn't the only villain lurking in the shadows. La Llorona, the weeping woman of urban legend, is abducting the city's children for a nefarious purpose. And when a terrifying creature of ancient myth emerges and rears its serpentine head, Batwoman must team up with another warrior who has experienced slaying monsters of old, Wonder Woman. So I've mentioned this plenty of times. As you guys know, Wonder Woman is my favorite character. So knowing that she's in here was cool. Batwoman has always interested me. Spoiler alert, she is Bruce Wayne's cousin as well. So it's a cool dynamic that they have. But yeah, Batwoman Omnibus, check it out if you can. All right, next we have The Omega Man by Tom King, the deluxe edition. So this one, I don't know too much about it. I saw a little bit of the art. I heard the premise. I thought it'd be kind of cool. This one says Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern, is dead, and the Omega Men killed him on live TV. They're violent insurgents, a terrorist organization, a fanatical cult, or they're patriots, the last hope for freedom in a godforsaken sector of the universe, in the Vega system. It depends who you ask. But no matter what the galaxy thinks it saw, Earth's White Lantern still lives as the Omega Men's prisoner. What they really want him to be is their latest recruit in their relentless war against the all-powerful Citadel and its tyrannical viceroy. As Kyle gets to know his motley crew of outlaws, he'll question everything he knows about being a hero. In this strange system where Green Lanterns are forbidden, will he break his oath and join the revolution, or will he discover that the Omega Men are monsters in the end? So Kyle Rayner is a Green Lantern. He turns into Io, it's a whole thing, but this is like I believe it's a murder mystery. I could be wrong. I've heard some people praise it, so I wanted to check it out. Art was cool, so. Okay, we're in the home stretch. Thank you everyone who's gotten to this point. Next up, we have Brightest Day Omnibus. This is by Jeff Johns, Peter Tomasi, Ivan Reyes, Patrick Gleason, Ardian Syaf, Scott Clark, and Joe Prado. So there was a big DC event called Blackest Night. You can actually see it behind me here. Blackest Night was a Green Lantern story, well beloved. People, I still haven't read it yet, but I'm on my way there. This was a follow-up to that. I think some people said it wasn't as good as Blackest Night, but it's still pretty interesting, or pretty entertaining. Once dead, 12 heroes and villains were resurrected by a white light expelled from deep within the center of the earth. The reason behind their rebirth remains a mystery, but it will not be a mystery for long. This is the brightest day. So this is one of those books, kind of like Dark Knight's Metal, where it's like a tie-in event kind of book, so it's not really something you can just jump in without any prior knowledge for some stuff. So definitely recommend Blackest Night, but also recommend my next books, which are Green Lantern by Geoff Johns. I bought all 3 volumes. This is volume 1, this is volume 2, and this is volume 3. They're all pretty thick. Everyone says this is a beloved run. I've read some issues here and there of the run. People say if Green Lantern interests you as a character, these are the books to read. Focuses on Hal Jordan, but of course the other Lanterns show up. There's a Sinestro Corps War, introduces the emotional spectrum, all the different colors, and then it leads into Blackest Night, which is that book behind me, like I mentioned, which then leads into Brightest Day, which I just showed off. So Geoff Johns, Green Lantern, people always say it's pretty great, so I got all 3 volumes. All right, next we have DC 1 Million Omnibus. And you may be asking yourself, these characters look kind of crazy. So this is a book kind of in the future. On the eve of the festival commemorating the return of the original Superman from his long exile in the heart of the sun, the mightiest heroes of the year 85,271, Justice Legion A, come back in time to invite the greatest heroes of the 20th century, the Justice League of America, to travel to the future and take part in the celebration. But both teams fall victim to a plot millennia in the making. Stranded in the far future, the JLA are hunted as the dangerous renegades. Meanwhile, their counterparts in the Justice Legion A must find a cure for a deadly virus they have unwittingly brought into their past, or present, our present, and deal with the traitor in the mist. So, a bunch of people in the future, they're celebrating them being heroes. They invite our heroes, in the 21st century now, but 20th century, and a bunch of ruckus kind of happens. It's by Grant Morrison, an amazing writer. I have a lot of their books, and definitely want to check this one out. And the last few books in our hardcovers before we get to the trades is another by Geoff Johns, which is The Flash. I believe this was his first run that he did with DC. I could be wrong, but this is another one of those runs that people say, if you like The Flash, this is what you got to read. So I got volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. Volume 3, I just learned recently, is actually a few years like in real time after volume 2. Volume 1 and 2, it starts off with Wally West. There's an event that happens, changes, it becomes focused on Barry Allen. I'm more of a Wally West fan myself, and speaking of Green Lanterns, John Stewart is my favorite Green Lantern, but I've heard nothing but great things about this run, so I was very excited to get this in. Okay, before we switch over to the trade paperbacks, I wanted to showcase this, which I also got in recently. This is the poster portfolio of the late, great George Perez. The cool thing about these, if you haven't heard about these before, it's like 25 bucks, but it's a collection of just like pull out posters. You can just pull these out and make them into posters. I think they're 18 by 24. You can see the size of it here. You open it up, you can just pull these out. You can also just put it on your coffee table, the cool thing. So they have a few of these for a couple different artists. I had to get one for George Perez. Really cool art. All right, let's switch over to the trades. So first up, and this is good timing because the new DCU slate was just announced by James Gunn, and part of that was a movie about the Authority, which includes a character by the name of Midnighter. This is Midnighter, the complete collection, by Steve Orlando, ACO, Hugo Petras, and Fernando Blanco. He can burst your eyeballs and punch his fist through your liver before you even see him coming. And he's the good guy. Meet Midnighter, the man with a fight computer implanted in his brain who can calculate a million different ways to take out his enemies before they can even blink. Newly single after a recent split by his longtime beau, Apollo, Midnighter is looking for some bad guys to beat up and a new shot at love. I've heard a lot of great things about this. I also want to try to get the Authority book. But Midnighter and Apollo, one of the prominent gay couples in DC Comics, and I just heard that Midnighter and Apollo are just kicking ass, so I wanted to check this one out. All right, next up, we got Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka, Volume 1 and 2. Volume 3 was out of stock everywhere, so I just have these first 2 volumes. He had 2 runs. This was his first run in the early 2000s. Everyone praises this run. I've heard nothing but good things, so I wanted to check this out. This includes a lot of I think this is one that has like the story where she goes blind and fights Medusa. These are a collection of, you know, her ongoing main title at the time, so it's not like a specific event or anything. It's just, you know, his run during that era. For volume 1, it says, when an ancient ritual requires Wonder Woman to protect a young woman from anyone who threatens her, it pits the Amazon warrior against her Justice League ally, Batman. And while an array of enemies, including Silver Swan and the more dangerous than ever Dr. Psycho, attack Wonder Woman on all fronts, it's the publication of Princess Diana's book that opens her to an assault by a new and deadly foe, the malevolent Veronica Cale, and places Wonder Woman's island homeland of Themyscira in grave danger. So part of her mainline run, heard good things, hoping we can get volume 3 somewhere in stock. Okay, so before I show this one, when I ordered this book, it had a regular comic book cover, you know, on the front. Like, it would show like an artist's rendering, right? Ordered the book, and it came in, and I was like, this wasn't what was on the cover. We have Black Adam, The Dark Age. This is by Peter J. Tomasi, Doug Mahnke, and Christian Alamy. And despite what the cover may show, this is not a book about the movie. This is a book that influenced the movie. This is the kind of art that's in the book. I don't know why they gave me a copy of this. That's not the end of the world. I know they were making a bunch of movie tie-in covers for a lot of these books, but like I said, when I ordered it, it was like the regular original cover. But yeah, this is Black Adam. It says, Black is back. Black Adam had it all. The power of the gods, the adoration of his countrymen, and the love of Isis, his beautiful queen. And it's Black Adam's story. You know, I've heard good things about this one, so I wanted to check it out. Shout out to The Rock. I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, but I had fun. All right, next we have Blue and Gold. So also funny timing. Also part of the announcement earlier this week was a Booster Gold TV series. This is actually a recent run that has, you know, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. It says, watch out, evildoers. Our heroes are live and online. Desperate to regain the spotlight, Booster Gold enlists the help of his best friend, Blue Beetle, to strike out on their own. So I heard good things about this. Like I said, it's a recent run. This collects the first 6 volumes or 6 issues. I could be wrong, but you know, some buddies hanging out, having a good time. Next up, we have The Final Night. The back says, are you afraid of the dark? In all big caps, spooky. The Sun Eater, an interstellar entity that consumes stars and all sentient life within its path, has come to Earth. As the sun goes dark, the Justice League must quell the planet-wide rioting and fight to preserve life where they can. Heroes and villains alike must band together to destroy the Sun Eater, but does any one person have the will to reignite the sun? Pretty much like all these books, I heard good things about it. I like the art, wanted to check it out. The Final Night. This is by Carl Kiesel, Stuart Immonen, and Jose Marzan Jr. I should also mention this was by Dan Jurgens, Ryan Sook, Coley Hamner, and Kevin McGuire. Gotta give credit to the artists. I did it for Black Adam, so make sure I don't skip that. All right, next we have President Luthor. So I actually got this. I made a trip to the Last Bookstore here in LA recently for the first time. I heard about this story. The cover is just hilarious to me. This one is by Peter David, J.M. DeMatteis, James D. Hudnall, Phil Jimenez, Carl Kiesel, Jeff Loeb, Greg Rucka, Mark Schultz. Those are the writers. Bunch of artists on here. The most controversial election of all time. Lex Luthor is the most powerful man in Metropolis. The companies in his conglomerate dominate travel, media, and technology. His fame soared after he helped rebuild the earthquake-damaged Gotham City. Where does he go from there? Why the White House, naturally. It was only a matter of time before billionaire Lex Luthor ran for the highest office in the land. And of course, besides bringing him victory, Luthor's campaign for the presidency is calculated to bring maximum grief to the Man of Steel. But whoever said politics wasn't a dirty business? So, again, always heard good things about it. And again, the cover just kills me. President Luthor. All right, next we have Batman, The Black Mirror. This is by Scott Snyder, Jock, and Francesco Francavilla. For years, Batman and Commissioner Gordon have stared into the unyielding black abyss that is Gotham City. Time after time, they've saved their beloved city from itself, not allowing it to be swallowed by a pit of violence and corruption. But even after a crime-fighting lifetime of confronting what they thought was the worst humanity had to offer, an even darker and dangerous evil pushes Batman and Gordon to their limits. As the conflict comes closer to its resolution, they find that the truth behind this murderous crime spree isn't just careening toward their doorstep, it has in fact emerged from it. Can two of Gotham's proudest protectors bring justice to the malevolent threat that is Commissioner Gordon's most personal battle to date? You can kind of read that synopsis for most Batman stories, but I heard a lot of good things about this one. I don't know too much about the specifics on it, so just wanted to check it out. Batman, Black Mirror. We're down to our last 2 books. Thank you again, everyone who has been watching this so far. Let's start with, this is 1-Star Squadron. Superman level service at bizarro prices. This is by Mark Russell, Steve Leiber, and Dave Stewart. Who are you gonna call 1-Star Squadron? I'm very much looking forward to this book. Let me just read to you. Meet DC's superhero team where heroism meets capitalism. This ragtag group of heroes led by Red Tornado is here to provide service with a smile. All you must do is send a request via their on-demand hero app and they'll answer any call. Whether it's a child's birthday party or an alien invasion, no job is too small or too big. So it has, you know, Red Tornado, Plastic Man, I think Power Girl's in here too. And it's literally like there's an app that they make. I read the first like couple panels. Like they have an app called Heroes for You, and they do a bunch of small odd jobs, but it's very heartwarming, a very character driven story, and you fall in love with these characters from what I've heard with this. So 1-Star Squadron, Superman service at bizarro prices. And last but definitely not least, we have Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf and Gotham. The Dark Knight crosses over with the world of fables. Any of you that have played Wolf Among Us, you know what I'm talking about here. Anybody who has read Fables, and I have my compendium 1 here. Also shout out, there's like a box set coming out soon for like 150 bucks that I'm like considering getting. It has like all 6 compendiums. This is a book that came out recently. Crossover, Batman, Bigby. Somebody's scouring Gotham for a very powerful book, and they're covering their tracks with acts of horrific book-related terrorism. I can't read today. That book's power flows from Fabletown, which means it's fallen to Bigby Wolf to cross a dimensional divide and find it before it lands in the wrong hands. But unfortunately for Bigby, the Batman doesn't take kindly to interlopers in his city, and neither man backs down easily, and it has all 6 issues. I love Fables, I love Wolf Among Us, I love the whole idea and concept. If you are unfamiliar with Fables or Wolf Among Us, it's this world, it's called Fabletown. It's the city. It's this world where like all the fairy tales you learned as a kid, you know, Beauty and the Beast, Red Riding Hood, Three Little Pigs, that kind of stuff. They are living in a quote unquote real world, and they go about their lives. And this is the big bad wolf, Bigby, and he's a detective. It's a fun story. If you have not read Fables, if you have not played Wolf Among Us, recommend those. This one just seemed like a fun team up, you know, Batman and Bigby, so I wanted to check it out. Okay, I said that was the last one, but I completely forgot. This one was sitting here near my feet. This one more. We have Absolute Doomsday Clock. How do I put this? This was mixed for a lot of people, but the reason I enjoyed this book is because I personally feel like this is one of the, how do I word this without making people mad? This is one of the best stories to showcase why Superman is important, not only to the DC universe, but as a superhero overall. This is a book that kind of brought the Watchmen characters into the DC universe, and that's a whole other discussion about Watchmen and DC, whatever. But again, the reason I like this book is because there's some very, very good moments that showcase why Superman is important. Is it the best? Like, if you want to learn about Superman, read this book. I don't think so. Again, it's specifically showcasing why he is important. There's some cool moments in here. The art is amazing. This is by Geoff Johns and Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. There's some cool fight moments in here. Zatanna makes an appearance, of course. Anytime I see her, I'm very excited. This is one of those books that you can't really like jump into without a lot of prior knowledge of the DC universe. But you know, if you know a little bit about Watchmen, if you know a little bit about the DC universe and you haven't read this, I would say check it out. You don't have to buy the Absolute edition. This is in a slipcase. Let me open this up. So here's the slipcase with the Doomsday Clock, which is a real thing in the real world. There was some news about it recently, but anyways, here's the actual book. Superman there with a little bit of blood. Like I said, the art's amazing, and there's just some very much like, when I was first reading it, and especially the last couple issues, because again, like I said, the art is crazy in this, and if you guys want to see more about this, let me know. I'll make a MyCoolBooks on this one or any of these books. There's some moments in here where you feel very like inspired, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's fun. So that is all my books. I think there's 31, 32, I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. One of the reasons why we made this channel is to talk about the books that we're reading, the books we enjoy, of course, along with our reaction series and everything, but this is why I wanted to get into this channel. Again, if any of these books seem interesting to you and you want me to make a MyCoolBooks video where we go in depth, we open the book up, flip through it all, let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to do that. The ones I'm thinking about making already, I would say definitely for Invisible Kingdom. I think I am going to make this one like a for sure. So if you guys are interested in this, expect a MyCoolBooks for this one. I think I want to make one for American Gods. I think just because the presentation of this is really cool. Heroes Reborn, maybe the Midnighter one. So there's a couple that I'm thinking about. Of course, I always got to read it first before I go into the MyCoolBooks, but let me know if any of these catch your eye. I want to try to do these haul videos more often too. I mean, I'm always ordering books. It can get expensive, but fortunately, you know, we're able to kind of buy some of these. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you guys enjoyed it, like the video, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.